Hey YouTube again, Travis here. Today we're going to be doing a review of Pokemon Sun and Moon for the 3DS. Alright, so without trying to spoil too much of the game, I will do the best I can not to spoil the game. I have been playing Pokemon Sun and Moon ever since November 18th. Or whenever the first day it was legitimately released, because I wasn't one of the people that had played it when it first came out and people were banned for it, but I've been playing it since the first day that it came out, the first legit day it came out by Game Freak. And so the game takes place, and obviously again, anybody who's played the game, the first thing you're going to notice about the game is that it is supposed to take place in like the Bahamas, Jamaica, sort of, Aloha region. Now, I personally, right now, I'm waiting for the patch to come out where, because I just completed the Dexter. There's 301 Pokemon that you can get right now in the Aloha Dexter. However, you will be surprised that that's not the National Dexter, though. The National Dexter is over 803 Pokemon, I believe. Because right now they've only revealed 2 mythical legendaries. There's one that starts with an M, I can't remember her name, and then there's one that starts with, it's called Marshadow, but no one really knows too much about that Pokemon yet. But I'm surprised, I could have sworn there was a third one. There always is a third one. Maybe the hackers just haven't found it yet. Or nobody knows yet. I'm surprised no one's leaked it yet. But anyways, maybe it's a little bit more complicated than that. But anyways, Pokemon Sun and Moon, though, aside from all the Pokemon, I mean, believe me, just put it this way. If you love Pokemon, just buy this game. It's fun. I've actually met some people that have said that they were actually very shocked at how the game was, like the way the game was programmed. Because a lot of people have stated, to me at least, without, that it's actually better than probably all the other Pokemon games. Some people actually have said that, and to be honest with you, I kind of feel the same way. Because the story was actually very well done. Like you'd expect, Pokemon, they put a lot of effort into the games. I mean, seriously, they do. And the one thing that really got me about the games was like the animations and all that. Not just the attack animations, but like there's like what is known, I'm not sure if this was an X and Y. I think this is where it started from, was X and Y. I've played X and Y, but I never really used the feature. I can't remember. The one where you can care for your Pokemon. Like, they have like all these really cool animations. Like for example, I'll give you a couple examples. Like you could have like an Eevee that's sleeping, and like it's realistic. Like you kind of, even though it's fictional, it's like, they kind of have like this emotion that like this option comes up like once you fight a battle sometimes, where it says, do you want to care for the Pokemon? And you can care for all your Pokemon. You can feed them. You can, it's so cool. You could pet them. You can, and like there's certain animations like where they're sitting there playing around and all that. And there's other animations like where like for example, like we'll talk about a more serious one. Like if, for example, if they're like if they're paralyzed or something, or if they're like poisoned, like they'll make like these very harmful animations that just like they're sick. Like you need to care for them. It's really realistic. I really like that. That's what makes Pokemon interesting to me, is that, Nintendo, or Game Freak, sorry, they put so much effort into it, and they just really make you want to, like, you can tell they put a lot of effort into it. There's so many things they put in these games, and it's crazy. But, some of the Pokemon, they have like Aloha forms, like Dugtrio, Diglett, Raticate, if that's how you pronounce his name. I haven't used it so long. Let's see, what else was there? There was a couple other Pokemon that I remember. There was, Aloha Raichu, Pikachu. Now, I'm not sure, there's an Aloha Raichu, but Pikachu and Pichu didn't get, which are in the game, by the way. Aloha Raichu, he actually is the Psychic type now. The Raichu knows Psychic abilities, which is actually pretty cool. Which is actually really cool. But also think of it like this. If you're familiar with the GTS, the Global Trading Station, You don't really need the other version of the game. You just need someone who has those Pokemon though, but you can get those on the GTS, and seeing how Pokemon's like ever so popular, it's never gonna die. The way I look at it, personally, X and Y, they kind of did the right thing with X and Y, where like they, kind of like the global trading network, like people were trading and all that, and people kept trading their Pokemon. And I mean, this goes way back to Gen 4, but I mean, but it kind of like, okay, aside from the mythical legendaries that people kept asking for, and it just flooded the GTS, if you think about it, they kind of got really organized when Gen 6 came out. They really just, or sort of, it's very easy to use, it's very understandable. I have a couple tutorials. If you have any questions on how to use it, you can always ask me, or if you have any questions about the game in general, you can ask me. But the way I look at it though, Pokemon Sun and Moon though, the music's really awesome, the animations are really awesome, the story's really awesome. If you love Pokemon and you absolutely want to know how many hours you can put on this game, I easily put almost 600 hours on this game, and I've been playing it non-stop for 1 month. Oh, almost 1 month completely. It's just, there's some days I've even lost sleep. Like, I think my 3DS is like I've never put that much time into one game before. But then again, it's Pokemon, it's it's a $40 billion industry, and 20 years later, it's like, look at what the hell they've done with this series. It's like, sorry if that offends anybody. I don't mean to offend anybody, because, Pokemon, kids can be watching these videos too. So Pokemon's like a series for everybody, but hey, anyways. But the way I look at it though, Pokemon is like, I can definitely see them not stopping anytime soon. There's so much supply and demand with Pokemon, it's crazy. And I still don't understand how Game Freak came up with this idea. I understand the story behind it and all that, and I just want to know where they got all this confidence before the game's really, going way back to Gen 1, when Pokemon Green was released only in Japan, and then they said, you know what, let's go international, meaning let's release this outside of Japan. And then they went far with it, and they just never gave up on it. Pokemon Sun and Moon is just like that good. Some people say they didn't like Sun and Moon, but the story is really awesome though. If you really give it a chance, and really try to sit down and force yourself to beat this game, you'll have a lot of fun with it. It was very clever. The game's kind of easy at first, but don't let that fool you, because later on the game gets ridiculously hard in some aspects. And I guess it depends on what Pokemon you have, but again, the idea is that Pokemon Sun and Moon is probably not going to be, well, at least not anytime soon. I don't think it's going to get a remake. Well, not a remake, like an enhanced port, but rather, maybe 10 years down the line, there will be, after the Sinnoh region has been released and re-released, and the Nova and the Kalos region, maybe when Gen 10 comes out, or whatever the hell it's going to be called, Gen 11, there will be another Pokemon remake of Sun and Moon, and then I guarantee you people will be reliving the memories that they're living now. So the way I look at it, I think people should play Sun and Moon, because the box art's really cool. If you ask me, if you really want to get the cheaper version, I would get Pokemon Moon, sorry. Pokemon Sun is a lot more popular. What's kind of funny though is if you go on Amazon, this is one of those kind of games where you could get a factory sealed one, but some people are selling the used copies even more. So you're probably better off just buying Sun and Moon goes down at $33 right now. Again, it's worth the price either way. But if you want a cheaper version of it, I would recommend getting I think what's also really cool about Sun and Moon is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the first Pokemon game where it's multi-language packed, meaning that when you beat the game, for example, and the staff credits roll, again, I won't spoil the game, but I'm going to kind of tell you how this works, though. You're going to be surprised that the game, they actually, they stored every single language that the game was developed in. There's Japanese, so at the beginning of the game, when you're filling out your character information, you have the option to play in English, Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Portuguese, Italian, German, Dutch. That's not the same. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Spanish. There's a few other ones. like it's a list that goes on, but it's like, but when you beat the game though, Pokemon Sun and Moon, when you beat the game though, the way it works, it goes like this. So like when you beat the Elite Four, which again, no surprise there, the Elite Four is in all the games, so it's not really a major spoilers. The way the game works is like the game's gonna kind of do a little bit like take Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire for example. When you beat the Elite Four in that game, the game had like a bonus chapter after you beat the game. Then the game ended, but then like it saved, and you could keep going back to the Elite Four and beating it over and over again, and it would keep returning that cycle. It's kind of like that, except the game, like once you beat the Elite Four for the first time, there's a little bit more story after the game, but it's still part of the main story. And then what happens is after you do that, the credits will roll, and pay attention to the credits, because in this case, when you beat the Elite Four, the credits don't roll again. The way Sun and Moon works is actually really interesting. I'm not sure if this is how Nintendo or Game Freak is going to start designing their games, but essentially what they did was pretty clever. The game saves, and like after you beat the Elite Four, it's all post-game, like meaning like it's after, and it just keeps this infinite loop, like however the story ended. So like pay really close attention to how the story ends, like how the story goes in Sun and Moon, because when you beat the game, like it's gonna stay just like that. It's not gonna force you to say it's not gonna just say the end and then that's it. It's gonna say like the end, but it's like gonna continue on. And like, so like you can go back to the Elite Four, you can fight them, but like there's a special twist to it though. I won't spoil how that works. And then like, when the credits don't roll, like once you beat the Elite Four, you'll hear like as if you exit a dungeon or a building, and you'll be right outside the Elite Four again. But it won't. But what happens though is it's not like the story repeats itself. It's stuck at the end of the game, but it doesn't reset like as if you were going to the Elite Four and then like, all the events still happen. It's essentially like you beat the Elite Four the first time, and then you could go back to the Elite Four, and like everybody's like as if they're aware that you fought them the first time, and they say a bunch of different things, and when you get there and beat it again, essentially like, as if you were still there, but like the characters are self-aware in this case that you were there, and it's not just you as if you were going there the first time, or like you beat the Elite Four one time, go back in time, and then like do it again. It's like, no, you beat the Elite Four one time, and you can go back for round two, but like this time though, they say different things, but then that sort of repeats though. But like everybody's like there at the end of the game, and you'll see what I mean as soon as you beat the game, but it's just to kind of clarify it a little bit. But anyways, other than that, I would recommend, let's see here, there's a lot of Pokemon that you can get aside from 301. Regardless of what anybody says, there's what is known as the QR scanner, and you can scan like all the Pokemon. Like you can only scan like, okay, it gets a little confusing. You can scan 10 Pokemon at a time, and depending on where you are at in the game, and depending on what day you're playing on, according to your 3DS timer. Again, don't change the timer, because what will happen is the game will take away, it'll kind of give you like a lockout penalty for so long, and you can't use it. I think that's how it works. And the same thing goes with the GTS. Don't disconnect, because apparently Game Freak caught on to the fact that there always seems to be a cloning glitch of some kind if people time their Pokemon just right. So they decided to take that away from us, and if they, for whatever reason, even if you run away and you just get disconnected from the game, you'll get banned for like anywhere between like 10 to like 72 hours, I heard people. I don't know if they stack, and I don't know how random it is, but it usually isn't that bad. I've only been disconnected once. I've always been on the GTS, so it really just depends on your internet. But let me tell you though, but even if you have like really bad internet, let's just say, even if you get disconnected one time, the odds of that being disconnected while you're trading is kind of very slim and none, so I wouldn't worry about it either way. But I mean, it could still happen nonetheless though. But again, take it from me, I'm always on, and again, the more you're on, at least during the part where you trade, that's really the major part that the game will disconnect you and tell you that, oh hey, you've been disconnected from the game, and now you gotta wait like 20 minutes or however long, but the game will let you know when you can go back on. I think another issue that I've had with the Game Freak though is that well, not really an issue, but I'm kind of shocked they didn't do it, was like in the GTS, it doesn't really tell you like when your Pokemon has been traded. Like, you just got to constantly keep checking it. But eventually, if you give good deals and you kind of just, it's kind of like one of those things, like, you got to just know what trades. But like, the one thing you'll never really know is like how fast it's going to trade. I mean, I've had trades like the second I put them on there, like people would have just immediately traded it. Again, I've completed the Pokedex. I already caught 301 Pokemon. But oh yeah, here's really another good example. With the QR scanner, which is the QR scanner, there's a mythical legendary Pokemon out right now, not Marshadow, but the one that started with the M that I mentioned earlier. Well, they both start with an M. I think it's like Melgiro or something like that. It's actually a really cool name, actually. And it's a legendary Pokemon that it's 801 in the National Dexter right now. It's a Pokemon that its body is a vessel. This is according to its Pokedex. Its body is a vessel, but it's an actual. But the real ability that it has, it's called it's like body soul or something like that. Soul heart, yeah, soul heart. And it's actually and it describes its body as an actual soul. So it's like really cool how that video game does that. But anyways, if you haven't played Heart Gold and Soul Silver, well, not Heart Gold and Soul Silver. If you haven't played Pokemon Sun and Moon, I would recommend, no need to rush on that legendary. They kind of scared people into thinking that they would never, if they didn't get it between December, before the end of January, or the end of December, starting January 5th, or December 5th, you wouldn't get that legendary. But it wasn't until December 5th that I actually beat the game one time, and you can get that legendary. So it's not like you can't get it. So, which is actually really nice, because that legendary Pokemon is awesome. Sort of. I mean, it's a really cool Pokemon to use. It's a really interesting one too. But what actually kind of scares me about it though is that they don't really tell you where it came from. Again, like I said, I don't want to spoil it for you, but like you're gonna probably wonder that though. Take Pokemon that we already know about, like Deoxys, for example. What's the biggest thing about Deoxys? Deoxys came from space. Okay, so did Starmie, so did Staryu, so did Seer, so did Solrock and Lunatone. From Gen 3, for example, the Hoenn region. The one Pokemon that the 7 gym leaders used, Tate and Vanessa was their names? No, Tate, what was their names? Tate and Tude or something like that? Like the two twins, the two sisters. And if you played Pokemon Emerald, they had a Noctu and a Claydol, and you had to knock out Solrock and, those Pokemon. But anyways, if you've never played Pokemon Emerald, or any of the other Pokemon games, I'd recommend playing them. Then again, while you're at it, play Pokemon Sun and Moon. The only issue is in December, though, well, that I make in this video anyways, January, they're expected to get the National Dexter update. Nobody knows when, though. The only information we have is, like, it's based on January, the early January, but that could be interpreted as, like, the first 2 weeks. I think it's going to be January, though, for sure, because, I mean, Game Freak, it's not like they didn't develop it. It was really more of, like, they probably, like, they knew exactly what they did with it, and the way I'm looking at it right now, like, they probably just wanted people to finish Gen 7 first before they released the National Dexter, because they wanted people to get familiar with Gen 7. Even though, what's really interesting, though, is I think there was only 70 new Pokemon that they made in Gen 7. There is a ton of legendaries, no joke. Or, no, wait, there was 80 Pokemon that they made. There's probably like almost 20 legendaries that I think some people have argued, again, not to spoil the game, but some of the Pokemon that you're going to encounter, the legendaries, some people have debated that they're not legendaries, but what's funny though is, like, if you check them in the Pokedex, they have like this really cool glitter effect. Again, not spoiling the game, but like those Pokemon, those are legendary Pokemon. So they might be sub-legendaries, but they're still legendaries nonetheless. So, if anybody tells you, oh, these Pokemon aren't legendaries, yes, they are. Yes, they are. So anyways, let's see, what else could I say? Pokemon Sun and Moon is, Also probably one of the longer Pokemon games as far as story goes. Let's see what else is there. Certain Pokemon are immune to certain abilities. Some Pokemon actually got a couple elemental changes. For example, let's see here. So when you encounter Sandshrew, and I mean if you play Pokemon Moon, you'll get Sandshrew. If you get Pokemon Sandshrew and you'll run into a Vulpix and a Ninetales and a Sandslash at some point in the game. But what's really interesting though is they're not the normal types that you see them as. They're in their Aloha forms. I'm not sure how you get the Aloha forms to revert back to their normal forms, because what's kind of funny though is in Pokemon Sun and Moon though, I mean again this isn't a major spoilers because they actually did mention this in the game. I don't know how to get a Sandshrew back into its normal form, because what's funny though is you'll fight some trainers that they have those Pokemon, but like if you go and catch a Sandshrew like in the wild, it's going to be in its Aloha form, which is funny because in this case it's not really a ground type anymore. It's an ice type. So Sandshrew is, I just call him an Ice Shrew because he's an ice type. And Sandslash is now Ice Slash apparently. And Ninetales, well, Vulpix doesn't really have anything fire about its name, so Vulpix can still sound really cool even with an ice effect. But they're ice types now. Well, at least with their Alola forms. Alola forms. Yeah, well, anyways, you get what I'm saying. I think another thing I want to point out, though, if you've never played these games, is that, you don't have to have HMs anymore. The game actually gives you trials, which is another thing that's really cool. It's essentially the gyms. And, again, like I said, Pokemon Sun and Moon, they did a lot of cool things with these games. I think that's why a lot of people loved them. But another thing that was really cool about Sun and Moon, aside from the trials, is that there's what is known as Z moves. And you need to get all these Z moves because there's like one for like every single type. There's like 28 of them, I believe. And then there's like some Pokemon that they have their own personal Z moves, like Eevee, Pikachu. Like for example, if you remember, okay, this is actually really interesting, but if you remember, they only played this commercial so many times. It was before Christmas time in the United States. And there was like a little girl that was sitting on, it was like, I think they played it on Cartoon Network a little bit. There was a trailer, like a little teaser, because Nintendo, like before they come out with the Pokemon, there was actually a little, they kind of hinted Pokemon Sun and Moon before it came out. The mother was sitting there teasing her daughter. She's like, Pikachu's not going to use the Z move all by itself. And it just showed like 2 seconds of like the girl trainer taking Pikachu and throwing it in the air and it using its Z move. I think it's Volt Tackle, even though Volt Tackle was a kind of a bitch to get in the other games. But, if you had a Pikachu with a light ball, you could learn Volt Tackle. And it was essentially like double edge, but more dangerous, especially for a Pikachu. But Pikachu, man, you could kill Pikachu very easily with that damage. You could also kill somebody with that attack too. But the point I'm trying to get at though is, if you actually remember that commercial, that actually kind